It's time to talk about the important issues for the natural state. And there's only one place to turn for that. Opportunity Arkansas's Nick Horton. You can find Nick's work at opportunityarkansas.org.
And good Wednesday morning to you. Welcome back to First News, 28th day of May, just about 20 minutes in front of 8 o'clock. And now joining us to talk about the world of politics as it pertains to our state and federally as well is Nick Horton, the CEO and founder of Opportunity Arkansas. Nick, welcome back to the show. How are you this week? And more importantly, did you get some time off last week, recharge the batteries a little bit?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot better than I was a few weeks ago, I can tell you that. Although this time last week, I think my rear end was sitting in the sand on the beach. So it's a little tough to come back, but, you know, if I had to be back, Toby, if I had to be anywhere else, it would be right here with you.
Well, I appreciate it.
So,
one quick question here. What's the preferred beach for the Horton family? Where do you guys go?
well, you know, love the Gulf Coast area,
Yep.
Gulf Shores, Pensacola, kind of that general space has become a favorite for us and the kids. So
I'm
we
right
love
with
getting
you.
down there and just completely unplugging, leaving the phone in the condo and not checking it as much as possible and just completely unplugging and getting a little recharge, which was exactly what we needed and a great start to the summer.
Do they embrace Gulf of America down there yet?
Oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. Every gift shop, every thrift store, anything you walked into, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
T-shirts, bumper
Gotta
stickers,
get new gear.
magnets. I mean, they're totally riding the Gulf of America wave.
I
So,
like it. I like it.
It was a lot of fun to see. Yeah.
So, Nick, before we get into some of the state issues, you yourself spent some time working in the media, if you like that or not, and on our station, on other stations, other platforms as well. What do you make of the statement that NPR has made that they have a constitutional right to taxpayer funding? Is that outrageous that they think that their very slanted in one direction message should be funded by taxpayers instead of hacking out a living like the rest of us that work in this industry?
Yes, it is very outrageous. And what I always find interesting about these groups in the private sector or nonprofit sector that get so much taxpayer money is the realization, the admission, frankly, that they make by freaking out and saying, "Oh, we're going to shut down. We're not going to be able to stay afloat without this money," and the admission that they're really making that they don't have a sustainable business model and
Right.
that they couldn't survive without basically taxpayer-funded welfare keeping them afloat. And I think NPR is a great example, an unfortunate but a great example of that, where they don't have a viable product. No business owner or financier in the world would pay for the pitiful quality product that they produce.
Right.
And so they're required to use the force of government to take taxpayer money and to subsidize their unfavorable, unproductive, unliked product, and to force it down the throats of taxpayers. And I don't listen to NPR because I'm a conservative.
Right.
But when I have listened to it and I've read their coverage, I mean, they are a left-wing propaganda machine. That is all they are.
Completely.
And I think most people, most Arkansans are very aware of that if they've listened to them at all. And yeah, it's outrageous. I mean, just as it would be inappropriate for a conservative radio station or conservative program or conservative nonprofit to be dependent on government or taxpayers,
Right.
It's equally the same, and perhaps even more outrageous, because this is a group that's actively working to overturn and sabotage the traditional conservative values that so many of us hold dear. So it's totally inappropriate, and I hope Congress and the president, whoever has the authority to pull that lever, I hope they are finally ultimately defunded, because it's a disgrace to taxpayers.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to go through the court case at this point. NPR is suing to make sure they get our tax dollars, and so we'll see where it goes. Obviously, there's an executive order that's been signed by the president that says we're not going to fund you anymore, and so that's what the court case is about. So we'll keep you up to speed on that as it moves through the process. Arkansas House Speaker Brian Evans, Nick, he said he made some public comments recently. You saw him. A lot of people saw him. I know he was on with Roby Brock on Sunday this weekend, but he made the comment that you picked up on here that there most likely won't be a special session this year about cutting income taxes here in our state, and that's while everyone else around us seems to go to just about zero income taxes on a lot of the surrounding states. And the comments appear to have a lot of ties to Medicare spending in our state. And so can you explain what went on here and what these comments really mean?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. What a way to come back from vacation.
Yeah.
And a lot of layers to this. First of all, let me just say, because I always get in trouble, I always get hate mail if I don't brag on the work that has been done. And in all fairness, there has been great work done. We had an income tax top rate of 6.9% less than 10 years ago.
That's right.
And now we're at 3.9. And so there has been tremendous progress made, particularly in the last couple of years. Governor Sanders and legislative leadership have done a great job thus far marching us towards zero income tax. The problem is we're not to zero income tax.
Nope.
We're not there yet. And as you mentioned, there are a lot of states around us. We've got two neighboring states, Tennessee and Texas, that are at zero. Mm-hmm. We've got now two neighboring states, Mississippi and Oklahoma, that have passed comprehensive phase-out plans that are going to get them to zero over the next 10 to 15 years. Mm-hmm. Louisiana has now gone, our neighbors in the South, has gone to a flat 3% income tax, and we're sitting at 3.9. And not only are we sitting at 3.9, but there were no income tax cuts at all, even considered in the recent legislative session. And part of the justification and the explanation for that the public was given repeatedly was, well, we're going to come back later in this year. We're going to let the fiscal year end. We're going to see how the budget shakes out. We're going to see what the surplus looks like. And then we're going to come back and do a special session. Well, now we're less than a month out from sine die in the official adjournment of the legislative session. Mm-hmm. And now you've got the speaker making this pronouncement that, well, no, we're not going to do that. And maybe we'll look at it in the fiscal, which is about a year from now. And it's just a huge disappointment because, less than a year ago, this was a unifying point for conservatives and Republicans that, hey, we're going to zero and we're going to do whatever it takes. And this is a race, and we realize we're competing against states around us, and we're going to do whatever it takes to keep our foot on the gas, pedal to the metal, and get to zero. And now all of a sudden, we have just completely lost focus from that goal. And so people are unhappy that we're pointing that out at Opportunity Arkansas, but, I'm sorry, not sorry. This is the goal, and this is a big reason, by the way, that Opportunity Arkansas exists, which is to advocate for conservative public policy that makes us more competitive with states around us, and the income tax is one of our primary goals. Eliminating that has always been one of our primary goals. So we're going to continue to push for this.
Well, and while they're not passing anything to cut the income tax, it's odd to me that you have so many special interest groups that end up getting bills passed in this last session to get tax breaks. I mean, aviation fuel, bill and sake tax credits, subsidies for lithium mining. I mean, on and on with the special interest groups getting tax cuts, but not the people of Arkansas.
There's always plenty of money to spend, it seems, but when it comes to tax cuts, we always have to be cautious. We always have to make sure that the money's going to be there. We got to wait and see what the surplus is going to look like. And one of the things Speaker Evans said that I find really fascinating in this interview he did over the weekend is he said, well, we got to wait and see what's going to happen with Medicaid. And to some degree, I give him credit for realizing and recognizing how, unfortunately, our budget is completely dominated by Medicaid. We call it the Medicaid monster because it consumes our state budget. Nearly 1 out of 4, more than 1 out of 4, nearly 1 out of 3 now dollars that the state of Arkansas spends goes to Medicaid.
Yeah, it's awful.
Nearly 1 out of 3. And so I give Speaker Evans credit to some degree for saying, hey, we got to make sure Medicaid is really driving the budget here, and we got to make sure we have money for that. The problem is we're not doing anything to solve that problem. And in fact, we increased and massively expanded the Medicaid program during the recent legislative session.
Right.
So it's sort of like, well, we'll do income tax cuts if we have the money, but by the way, we're going to spend a bunch more money on Medicaid. But then when the session's over, we're going to say, oh, well, we got to wait and make sure we have enough money to pay for these new Medicaid expenditures that we took on. And so it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg almost, where they've created this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy to say, well, if we have the money, we'll consider doing some income tax cuts. But by the way, we're going to work really hard to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating. And again, getting rid of the state income tax should be the North Star for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone that calls himself a conservative in the state of Arkansas, that should be the goal. And in order to get there, we're not going to be able to just rely on surpluses anymore. And that's another piece of this, Toby, that I think is really makes you scratch your head is even with all the new spending, even with the economy, potentially, in flux and all these other things,
mm-hmm.
we're still projected to have a state surplus
right.
at the end of June. So remind me again why we can't do more income tax cuts. Yeah, I don't get it.
It doesn't make sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And so so obviously, we're not going to see the special session this year, and so we'll hopefully we get something on the books in the future.
Well, and we'll see. We'll see about that. The governor is the only person that can really make that decision. So constitutionally in Arkansas, the governor could still. I mean, she's the one that gets to decide. So
right.
I'm not giving up hope, and I don't think conservatives should give up hope. But I do think this is something we should pay attention to. I think folks should contact their lawmakers and say that they want them to continue to be aggressive towards getting rid of the state income tax. Because we're in May. We've got 6 plus 7 months left in the year. There's still an opportunity for this to happen, certainly.
Right.
The fiscal year ends at the end of June. There's going to be a surplus. And our message has always been, look, when there's a surplus, you got 2 options. You can spend it or you can send it back to the taxpayers. Mm-hmm. And we hope that that's what will happen.
Yeah, no, that's definitely what the hope is. We're talking with Nick Horton this morning, founder and CEO of Opportunity Arkansas. Last week, I was talking with Jay Robertson, your public affairs director at Opportunity Arkansas. He said that coming up soon would be the scorecard from the last session. Any can you give us a hint of when we might be able to see this? I assume it's going to come out in non-debatable.
It will come out it will come out over email first. So if folks are not on our email list, encourage them definitely to go to opportunityarkansas.org and sign up for our email list free of charge. And we won't spam you. We only send a couple emails a month, usually
right.
on average. So appreciate folks signing up for that. But yes, I can break the news right here, Toby,
okay.
if you would like, that a week from today will be
Beautiful.
the official release of our Opportunity Scorecard 2025 legislative session. So I'm sure maybe we'll talk about it next
we
week
will.
on the segment. Yeah.
Guaranteed. So.
You'll get a sneak peek. I'll send it to you on Tuesday so you can take a look.
All right, beautiful. I look forward to that. So, of course, you can see Nick and Opportunity Arkansas's work, everything that they're working on at opportunityarkansas.org is the website. It's also where you can sign up for non-debatable so that you get that right in your email box when it does come out. But, Nick, we always appreciate you stopping by. Glad you're back here in Central Arkansas with us and all rested up and ready to roll, and we'll talk